Hello, my name is Jocelyn Little, and today I'm going to be talking about Romanticism, more so specifically how it has impacted our society today, and talk about a few pieces of art that I feel as if portray Romanticism very well. On this slide, I have pieces of art that we learned throughout the course that has helped me learn and understand what Romanticism is, and I feel like these pieces of art portray Romanticism very well, but I'm not going to go over them, for I feel as if we spent a lot of time in class going over these pieces of art, but I do want to mention them. This is the infamous Raft of Medusa. This is the Oath of the Three Hierati. And this is the 3rd of May, 1808. So, what is Romanticism? Romanticism is the expression of personal feeling and interest. It was a term used in the 18th century, and it was used to describe movement in art and literature. It also enabled human interest in psychology, and I do want to mention that Romanticism did not subsidize Enlightenment thought. Rather, it offered alternative outlooks and horizons. Also, Romantics encouraged individuals to experiment boldly and to question things instead of blindly accepting them. This is quite the opposite of realism, while realism only focused on fact and intellect. How has Romanticism influenced our society today? Romanticism influenced political and social ideologies such as liberalism, conservatism, and nationalism. We still use these terms today, and our government is actually formed off of liberalism and conservatism and democracy, which is also as a result of Romanticism. Romanticism allowed people to express their emotion and emphasize on emotion rather than intellect. As mentioned before, it also enabled people to question, and it changed the attitudes of nature, emotion, reason, and even the individual. Romanticism was often focused and really portrayed on the individual and their emotions and their feelings, and it helped them view nature in a different way. One piece of art that I found interesting and that really portrays Romanticism is The Wonder Above the Sea of Fog. This was painted by German romanticist Caspar David Friedrich. This was considered a masterpiece of Romanticism, and it was also an oil painting. I'm going to go to the next slide so we can better study this piece of art. The atmospheric perspective and the use of tenebrism in the rock as shown allows the painting to seem particularly balanced. The use of Cesaro in the man in the sky allows the perspective to seem more distant. Additionally, art historian as well as professor at Harvard University, Joseph Coroner, notes that the midpoint of the painting rests at the man's chest, stating the heart is the center of the universe. I feel as if I can agree with this statement. The man in the photo is standing very stiffly, yet confident, which allows the viewer to infer something has reached a type of enlightenment or has been accomplished. This is another famous painting titled The Nightmare, painted by Henry Fuseli in 1781. I think it's important to note that Fuseli spent most of the 1770s in Italy studying the figure painting of Michelangelo, which became a major influence on his art. The Nightmare was also one of the first paintings to depict an idea rather than an event, a story, or a poem. We also know that Fuseli used sleep and dreams as regular themes in his paintings. According to visualartworks.com, some art critics believe that the painting was inspired by Germanic legends about demons who possessed people as they slept. In these tales, men were visited by horses or witches, while women were believed on occasion to have sex with the devil. Others believe that the Nightmare illustrates the artist's unrequited love for Anna Landholt, a woman he met a few years before while traveling in Europe. The painting represents this theory almost perfectly in my opinion. The contrasting tenebrism of the background allows the seemingly lifeless woman to be the focal point of this image. It is very obvious to me that this painting, Fuseli has an underlying mystical message. His painting appeals to Romanticism due to these character traits specifically. Also, the demon may be intended to represent a mara, that is, a spirit sent to torment and or suffocate innocent sleepers. This painting is titled The Soul of the Rose by John William Waterhouse, which is painted in 1908. Waterhouse is quite notorious for painting pieces of art inspired from literary works. This painting specifically is inspired from Alfred Lord Tennyson. The vivid colors, as well as fumato that is particularly taking place within whom I assume is Rose's hair, creates a very angelic and elegant feel. I believe the particular contrast, which is seen within the tree at the top middle section of this painting, as viewed here, draws the viewer down to the hand, which is placed ever so slightly on the wall, again presenting elegance. According to romantic beliefs of art critics, the female adoration of the smell of the rose in her hand is due to it sparking a memory of a lover, perhaps someone lost or away from her company. This fits with the depicted role of women only should be sensitive creatures who lived in the depth and admiration of their male counterparts. I also found the irony of the title Rose holding a rose with rose-colored cheeks. I think Waterhouse really tied the idea of rose throughout this painting very well. The emotional woman allows the viewer to again feel as if she is mourning someone, which is presenting feelings and emotion, therefore romanticism. This is the last painting that I'm going to include in my presentation before briefly discussing music and literature in regards to romanticism. This picture is again painted by John William Waterhouse in 1988. As mentioned before, Waterhouse typically paints pictures based off of literary works. This painting illustrates specifically Alfred Tennyson's poem, The Lady of the Shallot. There's a lot to take in this photo, so I'm going to go over to the next slide to further analyze what is going on in this picture. So draped over the boat is the fabric the lady wove in a tower near Camelot, but she brought curse to herself by looking directly at Sir Lancelot, which reminds me of the tale of Medusa. With her right hand, as you can see here, she lets go of the chain anchoring the boat. Her mouth is slightly open, and according to the poem, she sings her last song. As you can see here, she stares at a crucifix lying at the front of the boat, which is laying beside 3 candles often used to symbolize life. 2 have blown out. This suggests that her life will end soon and she will float down the river. This piece of art is romanticism at its finest. I feel as if it provides an underlying message as well. Everything you do has consequences. Also, I believe this story has a theme of women's rights and equalities, for a man should not determine your destiny or fate. Now let's look more at what Waterhouse did to properly display this image of the poem Lady of the Shallot. So as you can see, the contrast of the trees and the tenebrism from the boat enables balance, ultimately resulting in the white dress being the focal point of the specific painting. The chiaroscuro of the dress highlights the woman and her face specifically so the viewer can see her expressions, hence romanticism. Romanticism is not only shown in art, it can also be shown in music. A few romanticist musicians are Brahms, Schumann, Schubert, Chopin, and Wagner. Musicians focused on personal and emotional expression, just like artists did in art. A few modern-day artists I feel as if practice romanticism are Frederick Mercury and Michael Jackson. However, I feel as if romanticism can be found in any type of music that we listen to today because of the freedom of the expression and how they are expressing their emotions throughout the songs. Another way romanticism can be seen is in literature. Most of the time this occurred in poems, but it wasn't irregular to see them in books or novels as well. Artists or authors used imagery and imagination so that whenever the reader read it, they could really imagine what was going on. One very famous poem is Daffodils by William Wordsworth, and the type of imagery that he used in this poem reflects on his emotions, therefore creating an image resulting in romanticism. Romanticism has influenced many cultures and has allowed societies to step out of the traditional ideology of realism and use emotions and feelings as opposed to intellect. This has resulted in political reconstruction that is still in this place to this day. Here are my works cited. You can click on the links when the presentation is shared and can go and see exactly where I got all of my information from. Throughout my presentation, I tried to use according to, so a lot of these websites I used and cited throughout my presentation. Thank you.